Again, a little louder. Hare Krishna, Hare.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Fix aside my humble obeisances. All was Sripad Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we are fortunate and blessed to have His Holiness Candramauli Swami with us. And Raj will be speaking on the glories of Sripad Ramanujacarya, today being the disappearance day of Sripad Ramanujacharya. And without further delay, Marge, we will hand the time over to you. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you and all glories to Sripad Prabhupada.
I hope. Om Gyan Timidandasya Gina Jana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Shri Bhakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvase Sasunyavadi Pastyatya De Satarane Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Is the audio okay? Is it coming through clear?
Very clear, Maharaj, very clear.
Okay. So, yeah, there's been a series of great personalities appearing. We started with Advaita Charya on Monday, and then Bhishma Dev disappeared. Yesterday was Madhvacharya. Today we'll be speaking on one of the greatest and most revolutionary of all acharyas ever to come to the continent of South India, or you might even say to the Earth planet, Sri Ramanujacharya. His birth name was Ilyao Paramo. And he is actually a very empowered personality. He is actually, as his name indicates, Ramanujacharya means Ramanuja means the younger brother of Ram. So actually, he is an energy of Lakshman who has come to revolutionize the teachings of spiritual life by bringing in personalism when throughout the continent of India at that time, impersonalism, especially Mayavadism, was quite strong. After Buddhism was driven out by Sankaracharya, which fled to different countries such as Tibet, China, Japan, and other places, most of South India and parts of the northern areas became bastions for Sankaracharya's teachings. And it was very strong around that time. But the Lord had a plan, and so he sent one very powerful personality to help bring back the true teachings of Vaishnavism in relationship to the absolute truth as being the personality of Godhead. Impersonal aspect is a feature of the absolute truth. Vedanti tat tat pad vidyat tat gyad gyajya avayam Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaneti, Subjite, that the absolute truth contains three aspects within itself, although it is only one. It is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And so the impersonalists, they focus on the Brahman aspect of the absolute truth as being the supreme aspect of spiritual attainment. But they also personalize things for the sake of worship. But these personalisms that they invent or copy, actually, are simply there to feature the principle of worship. And they think they are dispensable once worship has reached a point of perfection. But we understand that impersonalism is the feature of the Lord's all-pervading energy. This is effulgent that pervades the entire creation, coming from the spiritual world. And so Ramanujacharya was very instrumental in bringing back personalism. He was born in the year 1017, and he lived for, actually quite a number of years. And during that time, he really revolutionized the whole teachings of Vedanta. He lived for actually 120 years. We actually celebrated his 1000th anniversary appearance in the year 2017. There was ceremonies all over India paralleling this personality. He revitalized Indian philosophy. He was a social reformer. So many things. And although the time is very short and the material that is available is very voluminous, I'll get to some of the more important aspects of his life, which help for us to understand deeper the practice of Krishna consciousness. His Guru Maharaj was Ramanujacharya. And later, of course, Ramanujacharya established he was one of them, to fortify and establish Sri Lakshmi Sampradaya. There are four main Sampradayas, as mentioned. Lakshmi Sampradaya, the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, which we are, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Kumara Sampradaya, or Nimbarka. These are the four Sampradayas, and it says that if one wants to practice devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you can only find those teachings within one of these four Sampradayas. And so Jamunacharya, he was a very powerful Acharya. His life is also worth interesting to delineate. And he was a king before he became a great Acharya. But after giving that up, having been born in a very spiritually arranged situation, he now went to kingly life because he was granted that position in a defeat against another scholar. But then after some time becoming disgusted with that, he went back to spiritual life. Jamunacharya had three desires that he wanted fulfilled. And at that time, he had many disciples, but he knew there was only one disciple who could fulfill his wishes, and that was Ramanujacharya. So it's described, of course, Ramanujacharya had not only Yamunacharya as his guru, his official initiation guru was Mahapurna, and he also took Shiksha guru from Gosti Purna. We can speak about them also. He was the embodiment of all humility and all transcendental knowledge. Ramanujacharya, when he was getting old, and he actually come to the time where he was leaving his body. There was a ceremony, and just right after that, he departed. His body was on display for those to take darshan. So many of his disciples and followers were coming. During the time, he was laying there, his body was there, obviously he had left. The devotees noticed that his hand was in a particular pose where 3 of his fingers were raised up. And then everybody was wondering, why is his fingers in these poses? This wasn't like that when his body was brought there. But then Ramanujacharya was there. He says he has 3 wishes that were unfulfilled. And no one was really aware of those 3 wishes except Ramanujacharya. And so, no, actually his hand was clenched in a fist. That's right. His hand was clenched in a fist. And then that was said that he has 3 wishes. Okay, so Ramanujacharya, knowing, spoke, he said, to spread the message of Lord Narayan everywhere. And when he spoke that, one of the fingers in that clenched fist appeared. Then he said he also wants a commentary written on Vedanta Sutra to establish Lord Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, defeating all Mayavadi and Brahmavadi philosophy. When he spoke that, the second finger opened from the fist. And then he said, to honor the father of Vyasadeva, Parasaramuni, and to name a disciple after him. And then the third finger opened. After Jamunacharya left, the disciples encouraged him to take charge of the mission. As he was taking charge of the mission, he started to preach extensively. And this was worrying some of the Mayavadis at that time. He had such allegiance for many of his disciples. There was one Brahmana who would always beg for service. And he would come after lunch each day and give a foot bath to Ramanujacharya. But one day, Ramanujacharya did not return. And then he waited late into the evening for Ramanujacharya to return. And then he offered his service. Yagyamurti, famous Mayavadi scholar, everywhere he would go, he would defeat people. He carried a large cart of books. He challenged Ramanujacharya. He said, well, actually, I don't even want to debate you. You accept defeat? Yes, then Yagyamurti said, then you must teach Mayavadi philosophy. And then Ramanujacharya said, then we must debate. And they debated for 18 days and there was a stalemate. There was no one coming out. One day Ramanujacharya was thinking, how can I defeat this Mayavadi? He is so expert at speaking very according to scriptures and twisting the meanings of the scriptures around in such a way as to fortify his ideas. So one day Ramanujacharya prayed to his deity, whose name was Devaraj. And then next day when he appeared for the debate, he became so effulgent that when Yagyamurti saw him, there was no debate. He simply surrendered at his lotus feet and became his disciple. There's a beautiful story which illustrates the importance of Vaishnava Seva. In the Ramanuja Sampradaya, Ramanuja taught Vaishnava Seva as one of his main principles. He also taught that bhakti is superior than karma and jnana. But the Ramanujis, or the Sri Sampradaya, they are very inclined to serve Vaishnavas. We had the good fortune to associate with them in the year 2005 and 6, December, January, and again in 2010 and 11, December, January. And my personal experience was just to watch how eager they are to serve Vaishnavas. They're always in that mood of serving Vaishnavas, doing things for Vaishnavas. I remember just two Brahmanas came up to me and they gave me a gift. And I was thinking, oh, this is very nice. I don't even know them, but they just wanted to give us a gift. So we were there with about 5,000 devotees. That was in the year 2005. No, we didn't have 5,000 devotees, but we had many devotees. I think a couple thousand, 3,000. And they gave me a present. I opened it up and it was two very beautiful, nicely strung Brahmin threads that were of high quality. So I remember keeping those Brahmin threads for many, many, many years. And so this was an example of how they like to serve Vaishnavas, just arbitrarily or just coming up and offering gifts to devotees. Ramanujacharya was traveling with some of his disciples. He came to one town where he had two disciples. One was very rich. His name was Yogesh. And he had another one, the disciple, whose name was Acharya. So he said to his brahmacharis, go to the house of Yogesh and tell him that your spiritual master will be coming in the evening. Ask him to have prasadam ready. Oh, fine. So they went. They came to the house of Yogesh. He opened the door. He was so happy to see his godbrothers, welcomed them in, sat them down, and he asked them, why have you come? Well, Guru Maharaj is in town, and we are come to notify you that he would like to come tonight to your home to honor prasadam. So please make all arrangements. Upon hearing that, he completely absorbed himself. He was starting to call his servants and getting this ready, go buy this, do this. And in his enthusiasm, he completely forgot to speak any further or even give any kind of real welcome to the two brahmacharis. He was so enthusiastic to arrange for his spiritual master. And so the two brahmacharis just left. When they went back to Ramanujacharya, he asked, did you inform him? Yes. How did he respond? Oh, he was very enthusiastic to make all arrangements. He was doing so many things after we told him. Well, Ramanuja said, well, how did he treat you? Well, because he was so enthusiastic you were coming, he sort of neglected us. He didn't speak to us. Well, I'm not going. I'm not going to go. But I have another disciple. His name was Bhardaraj. Acharya. And he is very poor. In fact, he's so poor that he goes out every day begging. Go to his home, you'll find his wife Lakshmi, she's there. and informed Lakshmi that Guru Maharaj would be coming tonight. So they found the house of Bhardaraj Acharya, and he was out begging. Lakshmi was so poor, they were so poor that she could not even come out and appear before them because she didn't have proper dress. So she spoke to them through the door, and she asked them, "Oh, why have you come?" "Well, Guru Maharaj is coming for lunch tonight, and he wants you to make all arrangements." And she was thinking, "Oh my God, what can I do?" And then she thought, "Oh, well, these two boys are here. I should at least offer them something." So she offered them each a glass of water and a place to sit. That's the best she could do. And now she's thinking, Guru Maharaj is coming. We don't have anything. How are we going to honor a spiritual master? Then she had an idea. She would sometimes go to this one grocery store when they needed to get something. And the grocer, he was quite licentious. He would always lust after Lakshmi and always try to entice her, and she was never interested in him. So now she thought, here's an opportunity to cook nicely for my spiritual master. She went to the grocer and she said, I have my spiritual master is coming. Please, can you fulfill my order? I want all of these items, and I promise I will satisfy all your requests. Oh, the grocer got so enthusiastic. She's finally surrendering. Good. And so he said, yes, you take some ghee, take some butter, here's some nice rice, vegetables we have. And he gave her everything she asked for. And then she went home, and that day she started to cook. Her husband came back before everything was over, and then she explained, the Guru Maharaj is coming over. And so he was shocked. Guru Maharaj is coming, we don't have anything. But then he looked, and she had cooked this wonderful feast. He said, my dear Lakshmi, my dear wife, where did you get all that? And then she bowed her head in shame and was afraid to respond to his request. But then she told him everything. He said, actually, you are very, very wonderful. So yes, go to him when the time is right. So that night, Ramanujacharya came, and she offered him this huge feast, so nicely prepared. And then Ramanujacharya was eating the feast, and he could understand something was different simply by tasting the food. And then he actually said to Bhardaraj, how is it your wife was able to cook such a, you don't have anything? And then she explained everything. When Ramanujacharya heard her explanation, he thought of an idea. He said, all right, you go to him, but tonight after I leave here, you take this, and then he wrapped some of the remnants of his prasadam in a little cloth, and he gave it to her. He said, you give him this when you go. And then he was satisfied very nicely. They had served their spiritual master very nicely. He gave them all blessings and benedictions. And then he left. And then she went to see the grocer. She's come, the grocer was thinking. And then she came very humbly. And she said, oh, thank you you supplied so nice ingredients for my spiritual master's evening meal. He was so happy, he wanted to give you some of his remnants. So here. And so she opened the cloth and she gave him some remnants. And he immediately started to take. And as he was taking the remnants, something was happening. His mind was changed. He started to actually shed tears and cry, and he started to feel really bad that he had tried to entice her due to his own selfish and lusty desires. And he said, actually, you are like my mother. You are truly blessed by Lakshmi Devi herself. You are so chaste. You are so faithful. Therefore, please come and take anything else from my stores you want, and you may go back to your husband immediately. And so, just by taking the remnants of Ramanujacharya, this lusty grocer was changed into a humble Vaishnav, not Vaishnav, but a humble personality. He became purified. So there are three very powerful substances that exist within the Vaishnav culture. And that is the water that washes the feet of a pure devotee, the dust that comes from the feet of the pure devotee, and the remnants of foodstuffs that are offered to the pure devotee. So that is called Maha. There is Maha, and then there's Maha. That is an actual terminology. It's not just something we made up. Maha means that Maha that's been first offered to the Lord and then given to the spiritual master, and the remnants of that becomes Maha. And as it says in the in the Nectar Devotion, it is so powerful that one can become fully purified by taking the remnants of a great soul. And so you can see the power of that. But from this little pastime, we learn how important it is to honor and respect all devotees. Ramanujacharya refused to go to the house of Yogesh. Yogesh waited, and Ramanuja never came that night. And then he was wondering what happened. And so he sent out his servants to find out more why the Ramanuja didn't come. And then he learned from Ramanuja's disciples why he did not come. And he was feeling so bad. So to serve only the spiritual master and to forget the rest of the disciples and the rest of the devotees is called Prakrita Bhakta. One who's on a very lesser or a very neophyte platform of devotional service. Therefore, one should see that all devotees are the objects of service. And one should treat all devotees, one should treat all living entities in such a way that you can do something for them that will further their happiness in Krishna consciousness. Some seva. So this is a very important story, and also the story of faith in the Guru and personal self-sacrifice by Lakshmi Devi. Mahapurna told Ramanuja, go to Gosti Purna. Gosti Purna has a special mantra, and this mantra is very powerful. Ask him to initiate you into that mantra. So in order to go to Gosti Purna, he had to travel quite a distance. So he did. After approaching Gosti Purna, Gosti Purna said, this mantra I don't give out, so don't ask. So he left. But Mahapurna was very enthusiastic, and he said, you keep going until he gives you the mantra. So this happened 18 times he went, and each time he was refused. Only on the 18th time, Gosti Purna said, I can see that you are very determined and very qualified to receive such mantra, but you have to understand, I will give you this mantra, but this mantra is so powerful. And anyone who chants it could immediately become liberated. But you don't tell this mantra to anyone. It is a secret mantra. And it is, if you tell anyone, then you will be condemned. So he gave the mantra to Ramanujacharya. And the mantra was, Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. So Ramanujacharya was thinking, wow, I have this very powerful mantra and people can become liberated. So that same night after receiving the mantra, he went into the town where Gostipurna was residing, and he called all the townspeople there. He said, please come and meet me at 7 o'clock by the temple tonight, and I will give you a mantra that will liberate everyone. So many of the townspeople came to hear from Ramanujacharya, and he spoke the mantra to everyone, saying that this mantra immediately gives you a liberation. When the news got back to Gostipurna, he was furious. He called for Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya came, fell at his feet. He said, you called him various names. You disobeyed my orders. You gave out this mantra. You're going to hell. And Ramanujacharya, after being chastised by his spiritual master and accepting it in a humble way, he said, actually, Guru Maharaj, if my going to hell is the price of giving liberation to all of these people, I am more happy to go to hell. He spoke with such sincerity and such feelings of devotion that when Gostipurna heard that, it went right to his heart. And he actually fell to his knees and started to offer obeisances to Ramanuja and saying, actually, you are my spiritual master. And he apologized, and in so many ways, he said, he glorified Ramanuja for his compassion upon the fallen souls. That's a beautiful story. We went to that town. I can't remember where that town was. We were traveling in South India, and we had been visiting many places. And we went to this town where Gostipurna had given that mantra, and we also saw the church. But it was like it was a church. That wasn't a temple. Ramanuja appeared there, and from the top of the church, he spoke the mantra. I'll tell a couple more stories. And there's one that is very important for us to learn as devotees. It is foundational for the execution of devotional service. There's two, actually. The Life of Ramanujachari is filled with great messages that we can apply in our Krishna consciousness. Out of all of the other sampradayas that are there, Ramanujis are very much into the mood of complete surrender and complete devotion, and in the mood of Vaishnava Seva. So Ramanujacharya had a nephew, and his name was Dasarati. Now Dasarati was a great scholar. I mean, he knew the Vedas really well. He was expert at debate, and he had a small following of his own. One day, Ramanujacharya's niece came to her, and she said, "Oh, uncle, I have a problem." She was in so much distress. I just got married, and my mother-in-law, she is so mean to me. She makes me work so hard. She sends me to the river to get buckets of water, and it's very heavy to carry these buckets. And then I have to cut the wood, and I have to build a fire, and I have to cook. She's just working me so hard and I'm so tired and I'm not able to do much. Please, can you give some suggestions? Ramanujacharya said, you go back and continue to serve and I'll do something. So right around that time, Dasarati, he had come to Ramanuja and he said, Ramanuja, my dear uncle, this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Pariksha Jam Mamekam Saranam Praja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayashyami Masuchaha. Can you tell me the meaning of that verse? Ramanujacharya said, I will tell you the meaning, but actually, I want you to do a particular service. Your cousin, she just got married and she's having much distress in trying to maintain her husband. Her mother-in-law is making her work hard. So go to her and assist her, help her with cutting wood, carrying buckets of water and cooking. Well, Dasarati, the great scholar, he went. And then he explained to his cousin, and she said, oh, Guru Maharaj sent you. Thank you. And so he was helping out. And he was doing all the menial labor and it became very easy. And the mother-in-law didn't find out. But anyway, he did everything. And the girl was now no longer in distress. And one day, after he had finished his business that day, he was walking. They came to a little group of people who were circling around one man, and one man was speaking in the middle of the circle. And he was addressing the crowd. And he starts speaking philosophical teachings. So Dasarati stopped to listen to see what the man was saying. And the man was speaking, and then Dasarati was listening, and knowing the scriptures very well, he understood this man doesn't know what he's talking about. He presents himself as some scholar, but he doesn't know. And so he started to indicate by his facial expressions that what he was hearing was not nice and it was wrong. Now, this man who was speaking, the scholar, he noticed this person, Dasarati, who was indicating by the way he was reacting that he didn't like what he was hearing. So immediately he turned his attention to Dasarati. Now, Dasarati's all dressed in work clothes. He's just come back from serving his cousin. And so he says to him, oh, you think you know more? Now, let me hear your interpretation of what is being discussed. And Dasarati started to speak. And when he started to speak, immediately, not only the scholar, but the whole crowd started to listen very carefully. And he gave a beautiful explanation of what was being discussed. And everyone was amazed and they started to glorify him in different ways. Even the scholar. And the scholar said, wow, why, that was amazing. I never heard any interpretation like that, but I can understand it's perfect. But I can see you're just an ordinary worker. You're just working like a laborer. Who are you? What is your name? He said, my name is Dasar. You are Dasarati? The Dasarati? The great scholar? Yes. Well, how is it? You're doing menial labor. What is this? He said, this is the instructions of my spiritual master, Ramanujacharya. I'm simply following his instructions. And then when he went back to Ramanujacharya, Ramanujacharya said, now you understand the meaning of that verse? Oh, yes. Whatever the spiritual master wants, that is Sarva Dharma Pariksajam Mamekam Saranam Bhajam Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yashyami Masuchaha, Krishna is telling us to surrender, but he's telling us how to surrender through his representative, the bona fide spiritual master. So one who agrees to serve according to the directions and instructions of the spiritual master is surrendered. Many times we engage in devotional service and we just do whatever we like and we call it devotional service. And that is nice, and it is devotional service. But if we are asked by the spiritual master or by the representatives of the spiritual master to serve in a different way or in an additional way, and we refuse, then we are not surrendered. One should be ready to do whatever is required in order to please the spiritual master and engage in devotional service. That's how Ramanujacharya taught that through Dasarathy, by putting him in a situation where he was just doing the service as a menial worker. And I'll tell one more story. This story is really nice. One, I think his name, I can't remember his name. It was actually another relative of Ramanujacharya. He came to see Ramanujacharya and he had a question. And he said to my dear uncle, I have this question. What is your question? Can you explain or tell me what are the characteristics of a true Vaishnava? What are the characteristics of a true Vaishnava? Ramanujacharya thought for a moment. He said, actually, you should go to Shailapurna. He's in Tirupati. You go there and you ask him. Shailapurna was maintaining the deity nicely in Tirupati, and he was practically by himself at the time. So he went, and it was a long distance. It took him a month to get there. Finally, after reaching Shailapurna, he came, was able to speak to Shailapurna. Shailapurna said, yes, you've come? Yes, I have a question. What is that question? Please, I've been sent by Ramanujacharya. The question is, what are the characteristics of a true Vaishnava? Shailapurna didn't say anything and simply walked away. No answer. And then this devotee decided, well, I should stay maybe and let's get some association. Maybe he'll answer my question after some time. So he did, and he became a member of the devotees there, and he started to do media service and doing whatever was needed. At one point, after being there for some time, there was a festival, and Shailapurna came up to him and said, we want you to serve the prasadam in the festival. And so immediately he took that order upon his head and became enthusiastic to serve the devotees prasadam. After the end of the prasadam service, Shailapurna came up to him and said, you have a question? You asked me, what is that question? Yes. What are the characteristics of a true Vaishnava? Shailapurna said, characteristics are four. One, he is like a crane. Two, he is like a male hen. Three, he is like salt. And four, he is like you. And that was the answer. And then he walked away. Now this person was feeling like he didn't really get the understanding, but he had no time to ask for the meeting because Shailapurna wasn't about to give the meeting. He just told him. So he left. After some time, he returned to Ramanujacharya. He spoke with Ramanujacharya. He asked him, did you get your answer? Yes. What is the answer? Well, I got the answer, but I don't understand the answer. What is the answer? Well, Shailapurna says, a true Vaishnava is like a crane. He's like a male hen. He's like salt, and he's like me. Oh, okay. Ramanujacharya immediately could understand. A crane. What is a crane? A crane is a bird who has long legs, stands on one leg, and he stands by the river. And as the fishes float by, he looks to see the big, the big fish is coming. He lets the little fish go by, and then he grabs the big fish. And when the river becomes crowded or over flooded, he leaves that area and goes to the ocean. So a devotee will always seek the essence in devotional service and let the small things go. They will always seek for the benefit in devotional service. They always want to understand things accordingly from the spiritual teachers. And when the river starts to flood, that means when too many materialistic people come, then the great souls, they leave and they go to another place to do their bhajan. Okay, now male hen, what is a male hen? Well, a male hen will go to a dirty area where there's been food thrown, and he will look through that area to find some seeds or some pieces of corn or something, and he will pick them out and he will bring it to his little chickens. So he goes to the most dirtiest places and finds some edible foodstuffs and takes it out. So a devotee sees the best in everyone. He passes by all of their so-called errors, mistakes, faults, and seeks the essence. He always sees the good in everyone. Salt. Salt. Salt makes the food taste. When there's food without salt, the food doesn't have much of a taste, and everyone seeks after the salt. But if the food is cooked nicely, everyone says, oh, the food tastes so good. They praise the food, they praise the cook. They never praise the salt. Although the salt is right and makes everything nice, the salt doesn't get any attention or praise. So in the same way, a devotee will do so much service, but always stay in the background, not looking for any honor, recognition, or any kind of praise for their activities in devotional service. They humbly serve without asking for anything. So they're like salt, they remain hidden. And the last one, you, and Ramanujacharya said, yes, you stayed there and you did so much service, and then it was time to serve for the big feast, you immediately served. So you surrendered your life to staying there and serving Salipurna. So that's a devotee. He wants to serve in any and all situations. So this is a nice little pastime which illustrates some of the characteristics and qualities of a true Vaishnava. We learn a lot from Ramanujacharya. There are many, many other pastimes of Ramanujacharya. He had one very powerful and very glorious disciple named Koresh. Koresh sacrificed his own sight. That's a whole other story in the life of Ramanujacharya, how one king, Kolatunga, wanted to establish Shiva worship as being the religion of the area, but he knew that Ramanujacharya was there, so he made a plot to kill Ramanujacharya. So that plot was one of the ministers of Kolatunga had formerly been a member of Ramanujacharya's group. And so he was explaining the glories of Ramanujacharya, that if you really want to establish Shiva, then you have to eliminate Ramanujacharya, otherwise you will not be able to do it. So Kolatanga sent some of his men towards the camp of Ramanujacharya. The word got out that they were coming to bring Ramanujacharya and have a debate. Now, Kolatanga's program was to have a scholar, a Shivite, debate with Ramanujacharya. And if Ramanujacharya lost, then of course, Shivitism would be established. But if Ramanujacharya won, then Kolatanga was planning to kill him. That was the plan. So when the word got out and that this king was coming, it was going to challenge Ramanuja to a debate with a scholar, it became an alarm because they knew that they couldn't trust this king. And so Koresh, he came to Ramanujachari and he said, give me your sannyas clothes, I will go on your behalf. So he did, along with Mahapurna. They both came. Mahapurna was quite old. And he debated the scholar and he defeated him. And therefore, Kolatanga was going to kill him. But then he remembered that Kolatanga had a daughter who at 8 years old was haunted by a ghost. And Ramanujacharya had saved his daughter from the ghost by getting rid of the ghost. And so feeling a little bit inclined to Ramanujacharya, he did not recognize that it wasn't Ramanujacharya. It was actually Koresh. They actually quite looked similar, and the clothes were now Ramanuja's clothes. So rather than killing Koresh, he blinded him along with Mahapurna. And he told his servants to take him out in the woods and leave them there. So they did that. And then they were there. And then they were trying to find their way back to Ramanujacharya. They were blinded. But Mahapurna was old and he was getting very weak. So he actually said, you go, I'm going to stay here and give up my life. So he gave up his body. And then, as is described, Koresh was trying to find his way back and he was helped by some pilgrims. I forgot who it was. It's described in the story. And then they brought him back to Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya was overwhelmed with compassion when he saw what his disciple had done to save his own life. So after some time, of course, Ramanujacharya had established the worship of Bhartaraj. And so one time he said to Koresh, he said, Koresh, I think you should go to Bhartaraj and ask him to return your eyesight back. You go. So Koresh left, went to the temple of Bhartaraj, came in front of the deity and just sat there and didn't say anything. Bhartaraj, the deity, actually spoke to him and said, you have come? Yes. Why? And then he didn't say anything. He said, he just sat there. And then after some time, he left. And then he came back and Ramanujacharya said, did you ask Bhartaraj? Well, no. Why? I don't want to ask anything for myself. Ramanujacharya was thinking, how to benedict this person who is such a great personality, such dedicated. He said, you go back, and again, you go to Bhartaraj, and you tell him that you've lost something that belongs to your spiritual master, and if he could return it. Okay, so he went back and sat there. Again, Bhartaraj noticed him. And then he spoke. He said, you've come? He said, yes. Why? I lost something that belongs to my spiritual master. What is that? His eyes. Okay. And so instantly, Bharadaj restored his eyes back, and then he was again, able to see. So Ramanujacharya had to trick him by saying that, well, you don't want to ask for yourself, but you understand that the body of the disciple belongs to the spiritual master, and therefore, because it's my property, you should ask for my property back. So Ramanujacharya very nicely tricked him. So the life of Ramanujacharya is Koresh. Also, Koresh is really, he was a Grihastha. He had 2 children. If you go to South India, you'll find that, I left out one thing in that particular story. When he was asked, why you came, he asked him, well, I've come, you should show your mercy to this king, Kolatunga, the Shaivite king. And Bharadaj said, yes. He said, give him liberation. And he did. He asked not at first, he never asked for himself. At the same time, he only asked for the king to have a benediction. So that was Koresh. There's a temple. There's one temple somewhere in South India in that same area of Sri Rangam, where it's the temple of Koresh, where he is actually worshipped as the main person in that temple. He was such a great personality. And there are many, many stories centered around to Koresh. So these are few of the pastimes of Ramanujacharya. If you go to Sri Rangam, you'll see that there is a deity of Ramanujacharya that is encased in the temple, in the compound in one of the areas there. We were there, and when you see that deity, you are amazed because it's not a deity. It's actually the body of Ramanujacharya that's been put in resin. And it's actually Ramanujacharya himself in a deity type form. And he's sitting there, and people come to take special darshan. And when we were there, along with all of the devotees, everyone was amazed how lifelike that deity was. We were feeling we were in the personal presence of Ramanujacharya. So their teachings are so powerful. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, when he wanted to take sannyas and there was nobody to give him sannyas, he actually followed the tenets, the principles of sannyas as given by the Ramanujis. And he followed their principles, and that was when he initiated himself into the sannyas order using the principles used by the Ramanujis. We had many wonderful experiences there. They loved Srila Prabhupada. Even the leader of the Ramanujis at that time, the Acharya, who was the present Acharya, glorified Srila Prabhupada. He glorified the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He glorified the Vaishnavas. And so we have a nice connection with the Ramanujis. They are very inclined to devotional service. Lord Chaitanya, personally, when he went to South India, he stayed at Sri Rangam Temple, and he stayed at the house of Venkata Bhatt, who was the father of Gopal Bhatt, who later became Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Gopal Bhatta Goswami. When Lord Chaitanya came, he stayed there 4 months during the rainy season. And little Gopal was only 7 years old at the time, but he served Lord Chaitanya so nicely that after serving him so nicely, the Lord blessed him. And after some time, when he left, he was about to leave. Gopal was in anxiety that Lord Chaitanya was leaving. He said, but actually, you can come and join me. You're still a young boy. You stay with your parents, take care of your parents. And when the time comes, please come and stay with me in Jagannath Puri. So after many years, he joined Lord Chaitanya and became one of the 6 Goswamis of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So that was been cut to butter. The house is still there. When we were there, we actually saw that same house. The house has been somewhat renovated, but it's the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed. Across the street, there's a beautiful Jagannath temple with very unusual looking, but very attractive deities of Jagannath Baladev and Subhadra Maharani, worshipped by Lord Chaitanya during the time he stayed in Sri Rangam for 4 months, like that. Sri Rangam is huge. It's a gopuram in the middle, surrounded by many small little temples within. There are 7 boundary walls around the temple, and it's more like a huge fort. But it's each of the boundary walls, each of the boundary walls, there's small little temples there of different deities. There's Nrsingadev, there's deities of Lakshmi, Narayan, and various other deities. And there's also the deity of Bhadaraj is there, I believe it's Bhadaraj is there. Or no, Ranganath, I'm sorry, not Bhadaraj. I made a mistake. It's Ranganath. The Ranganath deity. Bhadaraj is in Kanchipur. This is Ranganath, the Ranganath deity, very beautiful deity, and he's in a laying down position. He has one arm pointed towards his head and the other arm pointed towards his feet, which indicates that if you want to take darshan of my face, first you take darshan of the feet. That's the way the pose is indicating, like that. We approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead not through looking at his face, but we always approach through the feet, gradually raising the eyes up to the smiling face of the Lord and back down to the feet. We offer our humble obeisances in that mood. The feet of the Lord, or the feet of the spiritual master, is the embodiment of pure devotional service. That's why we should seek shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service, because that is the perfection of life, or that is the perfection of one's execution of devotional service. There are many books written about Sripad Ramanujacharya. One was written by Devaraj, another one, no, both were written by Devaraj, actually. So there's many, many stories. And then he fulfilled that wish of Yamunacharya, where he named one disciple Parasara Muni. He actually wrote a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, and he also spread Krishna consciousness or devotional service, Lakshmi Narayan consciousness everywhere. The Ramanujas worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Lakshmi Narayan, but they're also very inclined to Krishna. But their worshipful deity is Lakshmi Narayan. They are in the mood of Vaikuntha. There's many, many, many stories. And I think we are a little bit past the time here. So we won't take too much time. Maybe devotees have other engagements. So we'll stop here and see if there's anyone who would like to maybe illustrate some of the points made, or speak a little bit about their own personal experience if they have some connection in any way, either personally, through family connection, or through experience with the Sri Sampradaya, Ramanuja Sampradaya.
Thank you, Marge, for such a wonderful class and sharing the glories of Sripad Ramanujacharya. Would like to ask devotees, those of you who have, as Marge requested, experiences or interaction with devotees who followers and devotees of Ramanujacharya, please do share whatever you have learned from them. I would like to learn. I have never had that opportunity and blessing to be engaged with anyone. So yes, Anjali, Anusuya, go ahead. I had to switch the name.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Sripad Prabhupada. We went. I think my mother and I went on that tour with you, and I think we have the picture of those Jagannath deities in Sri Rangam. Oops.
Yeah, do you have that with you now?
Yeah.
Can you post it and show it to all of us?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay.
They're quite interesting deities. Yeah.
Can you see Guru Maharaj? Can everyone see it?
Let's see. I think you might have to bring him a little closer. Oh, yeah. Okay. Bring it up a little higher. Just a little up. There you go. Yeah, those are those Jagannath deities.
They're very unique, Maharaj. You're right.
Yeah, they're very sweet, very unique.
Found it. Okay, good.
We can see Baladev, we can see Subhadra, we can see Jagannath. Jagannath is blue. Beautiful. Yeah, that was worshipped by Lord Chaitanya.
And I think Maharaj, Srimati said that she had something to share. I just made her co-host and gave her the
We ask all the devotees to turn on their cameras for this particular discussion session.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Sripad. Guru Maharaj, thank you so much for the very nice class and nice pastimes. Remembering about, you gave a chance to remember Sri Ramanujacharya. But I just want to share a recent thing happening in India. There is a big statue built by the disciples of Sri Ramanujacharya, and it is unveiled by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on February 5th. So I just want to share that picture with you, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, I think all of the, oh, wow.
This is the big picture, big statue. It's named as Statue of Equality. So this last Saturday, February 5th, Narendra Modi unveiled. This is near Hyderabad, just I think 40 to 50 kilometers from Hyderabad. So this is a huge place where big temple is built, and so this statue is unveiled, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, and I think it was 216 feet tall, right, Srimati?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a video I'll share with the conference group, Guru Maharaj. So there is a video where it shows the huge temple and this huge statue.
Yeah, it's nice. Everything is carved so nicely.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
It's got his tilak on his arms. Everything is nice. Yeah. Yes, I would be very happy to see that video.
Sure, Guru Maharaj, I'll send it. It's a 7-minute, 8-minute video. I'll send it.
Good. Thank you, Sri Ramanujacharya. Yeah, the Sri Sampradaya is very prominent, very devotional. And very much favorable to ISKCON, at least many of the leaders.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful. I watched clips of it on news, but thank you for really bringing it up today. Very, very nice. Any yes, Prabhu, please go ahead. I'm sorry, Maharaj.
Yeah, Srimati, can you send it to me on my email?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, sure, I'll send it.
Okay, good. Okay.
Marsh, you wanted devotees to share whatever, any experiences they had. So I'm just opening up the floor to devotees if they would like to share any of their personal experiences, with followers of Sri Ramanujacharya, any thoughts. I would like to hear and learn. I've heard quite a bit from Marsh. I'm happy that I did. Would like to hear from others.
Anybody connected to the Sri Sampradaya through family? Usually we find there's always somebody's connected through family lineages.
Doesn't seem like it.
Yesterday we did Madhvacharya. We got some connections there. Sri Devi is connected with Madhvacharya.
Nice. I didn't know that. I learned something new today, Sri Devi Mataji. That was nice. Thank you. Anyone else would like to share something? Marsh, if I could share a thought that came to my mind as you were speaking about the salt aspect of pure Vaishnava, and what came to my mind was Bali Maharaj, our god brother, because that was his character. I felt his personality in Gitanagari, at least, like he was the salt that was always hiding in this whole pot of sabji. That was his mood. Without him, he, like he was there, but not, always in the background, but always made sure that things were moving, especially in the cow service. So that thought came to my mind as he was speaking about the salt.
Perfect. Yeah, I thought of that just before my class, but I didn't remember to speak it during the class. Yeah. He, and if anybody needed any help and any services or anything, he was always there to help out. He was actually, we could say, Mr. Gitanagari in the real sense of the word. He was humble, friendly, enthusiastic, and every day, I mean, as far as I remember, for years, he was dressing Gornitai every day. We're speaking about one devotee, for those of you who are not aware, his name is Bali. He just departed his body today at 12:19 Eastern Standard Time. He was how old? He was in his 84 about?
He turned 80 in November, Maharaj.
He was 80.
Yes, Maharaj.
80. Oh, okay. But he was still active in service. He was always still with the cows, still with the deities, doing other services. Yeah, when I go to Gitanagari and I don't see Bali now, I'm going to think Gitanagari is not the same. Our friendship goes all the way back to the year
1994, Maharaj.
1994, yeah. In what is it, F Street, was it?
9th and F Street, yes.
9th and F Street, yeah.
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Good old Bali. He was the mechanic who was fixing all the cars.
And he was an ice cream man. He would sell ice cream in his ice cream truck.
Yeah. Everyone liked Bali. Nobody ever had any problem with Bali. Everybody liked Bali because Bali liked everybody.
Yes, Sri Devi. Please go
He
ahead.
was still dancing. I think when I came in, I came to Gitanagari in November this year, last year, And then I had a little kirtan. I think he was still dancing. 80 years old, he's dancing away, you know.
You want to say something, Shri Mataji? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Anasia. Please accept my humble obeisances, dear Guru Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Guru Maharaj. And all glories to Bali Maharaj. I'm just remembering what a great soul he was. So kind, so gentle, so humble. And totally sold out to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Totally. He just was so devoted to his Guru Maharaj that it was amazing. His deep love, his total surrender and complete faith in his Guru Maharaj. It was amazing to see that that depth of connection that he had with his Guru Maharaj. And I feel very inspired when I think of Bali Maharaj, the great soul that he was. So I want to offer my humble obeisances to this soul so that I may be blessed to get a few of those great qualities.
Thank you, Sri Devi. That was so beautiful. Yeah, we couldn't have said it any better. Yeah, such faith in his spiritual master. That's what his driving force in everything he did. He knew Gita Nagari was his spiritual master's pet project. And so he gave his life to serving in any way he could in Gita Nagari.
I remember Bhaktitirtha Swami used to tell us that if you want to go back to Godhead, catch hold of Bali's dhoti. Repeatedly, he would say that, catch hold of Bali's dhoti. And then many years ago, I think this was, I want to say 99, I believe, during when there was this first ever, I believe, I don't know, but the big Columbine school shooting, and when Maharaj came back from his trip, from his, wherever he was going in, and we had darshan, and he was very affected, and he was talking about how we should really focus on our preaching. And then he says that many of you would not have come to me if I did not come in this outfit. But he said, but if I preached to Bali in a bathing suit, he would have taken up to Krishna consciousness. Bali was very, very, very surrendered.
Wow,
And the kids loved him.
that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Do you remember what year did he first come?
I think Pritchett will know the answer. No, well, when did he join Krishna consciousness? Right, Maharaj?
He was already there.
Yeah, he can tell you.
I came in 91. Bali was already there, so must have been around that time or just before 1991.
Before 91.
Yeah, around 91.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's 1990. Because I remember Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Swami started this, he was in a place called Ingraham Street before he moved to 9th and F Street in Washington, D.C. So it was around 1990.
Uh-huh. So that's like 32 years. Dedicated service. Never complaining. Sometimes he would complain about not having the right tools to fix the cars. That was his only complaint.
And then Bali would go to the store to get one piece of tool and spend hours and come back hours later.
Yeah, he really loved his tools and make sure he got just what he needed. Yeah, he was such a jolly person. He was always happy.
He was an amazing devotee, an amazing, amazing devotee.
Obviously, Sri Radha Damodar will take him to a very special place at their lotus feet. Very special. He's very special.
Marge, that's a question that a devotee would like to ask. You can go ahead, Dear Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. Thank you so much for a wonderful class on Sri Ramanujacharya. Maharaj, one question I have is kind of, I'm looking for some advice. Sometimes we see some of the devotees from Sri Sampradaya, they come to our ISKCON programs. They really like it. And in my understanding, they worship Lord Krishna mostly in the form of Dwarkadhish and Rukmani. They usually don't have much clarity about Radha and Krishna. So how can we help them? How can we guide them or help them in the Krishna consciousness process without making any offense?
The Ramanujis?
Yes.
Well, they're worshiping the Lord in the form of Lakshmi Narayan, or Rukmini Dwarkadish. That's fine. That's Vaikuntha. That's the spiritual world. We don't have to. They know about Radha and Krishna, but their sampradaya focuses on, Lakshmi Narayan as the supreme personality of Godhead, which he is. And if they reach perfection, they go back to the spiritual world, like Vaikuntha planets. But they also, some of them have information about Radha and Krishna. But they're not in the mood of Vrindavan, they're in the mood of Aishwarya Bhav. Vrindavan is Madhurya. Aishwarya means awe and reverence. They worship the Lord in awe and reverence. I don't think we have to try to encourage them to change. That's not our business. Our business is to encourage them to become more and more fixed in their own form of worship. They're authorized.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, Sri Devi.
I have a question, please, if I may ask Guru Maharaj, if you don't mind. It's about these 4 qualities of a true Vaishnav. At number 3, you mentioned that devotee doesn't seek any attention or praise. He just quietly, humbly stays in the background, steadily doing his service, never his or her service, never, trying to seek attention or anything like that. This is a very elevated state of consciousness. And I'm just, wondering how it is possible to reach this level of being so humble that you're never seeking attention, never seeking praise, never seeking anything. For myself, it seems like a very difficult state of consciousness to attain. I have a tendency to want appreciation and compliments and encouragement and saying, yes, Sri Devi, you did a good job, that was good, or something like that. And I'm thinking to myself, when and how one can attain this very elevated state of consciousness that one never seeks anything for that service.
Well, a devotee who's developed that mood knows that devotional service is complete in itself, and completely satisfied in the mood of service, not wanting anything but service. Lord Chaitanya taught that. Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavitam, Vajagadisha Kamaye. Manmani, Jammani, Ishwari, but no, not that one. What is it? Trinadapi Sunichena, Tayori Vasahishnuna, Amanina Mamanadena. giving respects to others, not looking for any respect or recognition for oneself. One is feeling satisfied simply in serving, that's all.
But in the neophyte stage, don't we need the encouragement of our senior devotees and people?
That's what's called neophyte.
Okay. So how to progress, Guru Maharaj, so that we are not neophyte anymore?
That's the problem with neophytes. They mix in everything else. But what we're talking about is very elevated. It's not easy because the last snare of Maya is to actually think that I am an incarnation or of the Supreme Personality of God. In other words, one becomes so powerful and so exalted in devotional service, one starts to think in terms of me. At that point, they fall down, at least if they continue to develop, keep that mentality. So this is a mood that one has to always be in, to always remember that it's only by the grace of the Supreme Lord, only by the grace of the spiritual master, that I can do anything, that I have anything, that I know anything. The devotee always thinks, without the mercy of the Spirit, mukam karoti vachalam kam pangu lagate gira yakripa karatam mande sigurun dinatarinam. A devotee knows, even through the philosophical teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, that we are just a small part of any activity that's performed. If you take it from a philosophical point of view or a practical point of view, you understand that before you can do anything, you have to have the ingredients, you have to have the proper arrangements, and you ultimately have to have the sanction of the super soul to give the results. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Savasya Jaham Riddhi Sani Fastom, Vatat Smrita Jnanam Upavanam Cha. I give knowledge, I give remembrance, and I also give forgetfulness. When we understand things through scriptures, and we work in that way, but the material world works in such a way as that people are looking for something, some reciprocation for whatever they do. And even the most insignificant, just like somebody does something to you and it's for you, and you don't even say thank you. And people will think, well, I didn't want anything. I just wanted to be somebody to say thank you for what I did. But we don't even want that. The devotee is happy with the service. If Krishna is pleased, what more can we? I remember I was at a program about a couple months ago, and we're in this one room and it was quite cold. And so I had a real heavy charter that I was carrying, and I was keeping warm with the charter. So there was one girl, she just had a little blouse on with some short sleeves, and she was doing some bhajans. And I could see she was cold. So I offered her my charter, and she immediately accepted it. Graciously, she accepted. No, she did. She took my charter. And then after some time, I said to her, you can keep it. So I gave her my charter. And she wore the charter. And when I said to keep it, she didn't say anything. She never said thank you, never said anything to acknowledge anything I did. She just accepted what I gave her. And then I was thinking, not even a thank you. But then I thought, well, if she's happy and she's warm and she likes the charter, that's good. That's fine. And it was just funny because, about a few days later, when one of her friends who was also there came to the Sunday feast in Ljubljana, and she gave me a box with a present in it, and I opened it up. It was a scarf. It wasn't exactly a charter, but it was something that had the same purpose as a charter. So I was thinking, yeah, all right, Krishna, thank you. So yeah, if we want, we expect that, and people expect that too. The Lord Chaitanya says, no, you shouldn't expect that. To simply be happy with the service. But in the material world, recognition is very, very strong. It's even stronger than sense gratification sometimes. That because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says, Pratishta, or fame, is the last snare of Maya. Fame, to want to be known for whatever you do in devotional service, to want some credit, to want some eulogies, to want some reciprocation, anything. But the reciprocation is in the bhakti itself. Bhakti itself is satisfying. One who serves finds happiness in the service and not so much in the results of the service. Well, you have to practice that.
So then basically we have to be very, very humble and prayerful and pray to the Lord to remove all these things which are not good for our bhakti and will be stumbling block for us to really develop true Vaishnava attitude and mood of service.
Yeah.
Does that go about it?
Yeah. If you see that you're doing things and you're not getting any recognition, that means Krishna is purifying you from that attachment. And then when you don't want it, you get it. I know one very senior devotee, we were together, we were doing a lecture, and he was telling a personal experience. He was asked by the GBC body to become a member of the GBC. And he gave so many reasons to the devotees when they were talking to him why he didn't want to take on the responsibility of GBC. And then they left and they had a discussion and they came back and they said, we consider you one of the most worthy candidates for becoming a GBC because you don't want it. Because, I mean, that's a prestigious position in the society. But he didn't want it, and because he didn't want it, they gave it to him. He was qualified to take it in the first place, but he gave many reasons why he shouldn't take it. So yeah, if you're grateful to whatever happens, then you're happy. But a person who's expecting recognition and doesn't get it becomes unhappy, and they cannot appreciate what they have because they're always wanting more. So we have to practice that, and that's not something that is so easily developed. Practice being detached from the results of your activities. The scriptures say praise and blame, they're difference only in name, that's all. Praise and blame are difference only in name. That's all. whether you blamed or praised, it's the same, because it has nothing to do with you. It pertains to your body. But it's nice to glorify other devotees. And it's not, Krishna also does that. That the devotee starts thinking that I deserved it, or becomes proud to receive such recognition, and then that blocks their progress in spiritual life. And if it continues, then Krishna will create a situation to remove that. And sometimes that's not so pleasant.
Very nice question, Sri Devi. Thank you so much for asking them.
And I want to thank Guru Maharaj for explaining so nicely how to overcome this tendency. Maharaj.
Yeah, I'm working on it myself. I have to really work on that one. That's a tough one. It's easy to give up sense gratification, to give up, wanting to be recognized or reciprocated. Very, very difficult. But we have to remember our position. And then if we do, then we have to learn to become satisfied just by serving.
Thank you, Maharaj. Any questions from devotees? Any other questions? Any comments that would like to ask, like to share? And if there isn't, Marsh, I don't know what your time is like, but would you like to chant one round, Maharaj? Your call. I guess I know it must be lunchtime for you there, or past lunchtime. I mean, and we passed like late. That's why I'm asking. It's whatever suits you, Maharaj.
Yeah, Jairati, are you cooking lunch at the restaurant?
Ooh. Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. You're cooking at the restaurant, all right?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
In New York Temple, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I could see you were moving around. Looked like you were preparing something there.
Nice to see you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so one round of japa always makes prasadam even better. So I have to go and get my japa beads, and I'll return in a minute.
That's fine, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay, sit straight if you're in a chair, and if you're standing up, and do your best to keep your posture from distracting your concentration. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. 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 Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Krishna. Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Rama.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, and thank you to all the devotees for joining us. Thank you for glorifying and sharing with us the glories of Sri Ramanujacharya. And want to wish you all a wonderful day. Vanchakraftabhyascha kripasindabevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Candramauli Swami ki jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Glories to Srila Prabhupada, Ramanujas, Sri Ramanujacharya ki jai. We'll see you all soon. Keep healthy, happy, chant, dance, and take a shot.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class.
Thank you so much, Anasuya, as always, for
Thank
the
you.
wonderful hosting and the keeping everything going smoothly, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to engage in his service. That's the least that I can do, a little bit.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
It's not a little bit, it's quite a bit, but you're being very humble about it.
It's actually very little. It's like push buttons, tick, 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 very little. I wish I can do more, but very little. Thank you.
My humble obeisances.
Mine to you too, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.